Idea 1. Ministry begats entrepreneurship. Ministry is simply the service of people. When you serve people, as we all do in this room, you become endowed with a certain insight. You understand what they need, and if you serve the need long enough, you come to an insight about how to meet that need in a fairly in-depth and unique way. Those needs can be generalized to problems. You begin to see the problems that people have. You begin to understand things about why kids have difficulty learning. And you become so aware of those difficulties, you discover ways to address those difficulties, and you are able to address the difficulty before others realize that there's a problem in the first place. Now that's a special situation that I call entrepreneurship. You've entered into a situation, you've seen that that situation is in need of solution, you've developed that solution, and now you're going to present that solution in other places where it is needed. I have generically described every large and small scale enterprise and business we've ever seen in this country. I've described Microsoft, but I've also described the Harlem Children's Home. I've described any school that's ever been started. I've described every company in Silicon Valley. It began with someone seeing a need and figuring out how to speak to that need, and speaking to that need in a way that created an opportunity to go and address that need in other places. I wanted to show you an example of some of my work here. You may recognize this as a plastic soap holder, but in it is a game that I created probably, I'd say about 9 years ago, when I was volunteering at an after-school program in Gwinnett County where I was helping kids with math. And everything I said to these kids, they kind of looked at me like I was a brother from another planet. And when you humble yourself, you realize, oh, okay, they have no idea what I'm saying. I might be talking Georgia Tech to them for all I know. So I stopped and I asked one of them, do you understand what I'm saying? And they tell you, no. Like, okay, what would make it easier for you? And they said, well, probably make it easier if you don't say anything at all. I said, well, it's going to be real hard for me to teach you if I can't talk to you. We got to be able to talk. And they said, well, then you have to talk in a way that I understand. So that began me on a journey to figure out, okay, how do you break these things down and relate them to young people so that young people kind of get what you're saying. And when I got away from that conversation, I realized you got to take yourself out of it. When I took myself out of it, I said, okay, well, it's not so much me per se. Well, I'm certain that there's some things I can do a little differently. But maybe math in general is a language that people don't see as a language. Now, if you're in a Spanish class, you're going to learn the parts of speech. You're going to learn nouns, verbs, adjectives, prepositional phrases. You're going to learn how to put them together in a way where you can communicate. You'll learn the word arroz. You'll learn that that means rice, and you'll learn the pollo. You'll learn that pollo is chicken, and then one day you'll learn the prepositional phrase arroz con pollo. And when you can say arroz con pollo, then you can at least order rice and chicken. If you travel to some foreign land where all they speak is Spanish, there's no way you wouldn't learn Spanish in that way. But for some reason, we only learn math as, well, 1 plus 1 is 2. And then 2 times 2 is 4. How much is 1 plus 1? 2. How do you know that? Well, I don't know that. You just said it so much, I remember. 2 times 2 is 4. But when I say 2 plus x is 2, and tell you that x is 0, that's not so easy to remember. That's where we got to actually start learning. So this game is called Talk to Me, and part of the title was inspired by that conversation I had at that after-school program. It's like, okay, I got to figure out how to say this to them so that they get it. If you've ever played Taboo, Pictionary, $25,000 Pyramid, Password Plus, the game is based on all those traditions where you're trying to describe a word and you're trying to get somebody else to guess it. Very simple, very straightforward, but just as football ain't nothing but a game played with this piece of leather, if you throw that ball on the ground and you see 22 men risk life, limb, and injury to get that ball, that's when you realize, well, no, that's not just a game. The way you play it kind of makes it more than a game. So when you see kids engaged in the learning aspect of it, now it can become a rather intense competition, and I still got to figure out how to manage all of that. But when you see them engaged in trying to describe these terms in their mathematical context and trying to get each other to guess, I've got a couple of kids at my school now that play it beautifully, 2 boys, and it just warms me up every time they play it because they really like it, they really know how to play it, they're really good at it, and I'm going to actually form a team with them on the team. And when I described that to them, they were with it, like, yeah, we want to do that. So I was like, cool. So Keisha and I are going to take this game and do something with it. I've printed up a few copies. This is the prototype. I make it on my computer on business cards, and I put them in these nice attractive soap holders. I've actually changed up my packaging a little bit. I use this little Ziploc food container now because it's cheaper to ship it. But I've actually shipped 20 of these to 20 different teachers all over the state of Georgia, and I actually think I'm on to something now because I made a presentation at the Georgia Council of Math Teachers Conference a few weeks ago and just asked everybody, hey, would you like to play this game in your classroom? And I saw all these hands go up. I was like, oh boy, gotta get these addresses. So we've shipped 20 of them so far. We're going to get them playing the game. We'll go and visit those schools. We'll create some teams from some of those schools and have like a little league and kind of see where it goes from there. But I'm 9 years into it now. I think I know exactly what I want to do with it because I kind of waited until I could figure out exactly what I want to do with it. But this is an example of that first law there. I'm visual and auditory and kinesthetic, so you'll see me move around a lot. You'll hear me talk a lot. I like to bring things to show people, so I'll leave that there. Let's go to the second.